Greetings, YouTube. The Doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And today on the Doctor Spell Prognosis, we're talking about the spell Fireball. We're giving this, of course, a solid A. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like this video. Hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or a comment. All right, so we are giving this an A. It is a third level spell that is usable by sorcerers, wizards, light domain clerics, the fiend, and the genie warlocks, and the artillerist artificer. We're mainly going to be talking about wizards and a few other things. I may touch briefly on the artillerist, but it's a third level spell. It takes one action. It has a range of 150 feet, so it's one of the longest ranges in the game. A 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point you choose within range. Verbal, somatic, and material, which is not great. It is evocation, so there are ways of getting around things because of that. It's a dex save. It's not the best save in the world, but it's not the worst one. Out of the physical saves, this is the one that is the most favorable to the caster. So, a bright streak flashes from your pointing finger to a point you choose in range and then blossoms with a lower. Now, I'm going to talk about this a little bit because so the spell has a range of 150 feet, and you have to target a point in space. A lot of DMs will interpret that first sentence as saying if something blocks it, then you can't cast it at that place. So, the interpretation is there, and then if it hits something prior, it explodes because it's saying it's originating from you, but the stats up above do not say that it originates from you. So I guess that's up to DM interpretation. So each creature in a 20-foot radius centered on the point that you chose must make a dexterity saving throw, and then they take 8d6 fire damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. The fire does spread around corners, so you are not safe. You're around a corner. And this is the most confusing thing. It ignites flammable objects that in the area that are not being worn or carried. As if worn or carried flammable objects are somehow fireproof. So if I am carrying a scroll or a book, somehow that thing is fireproof. I don't understand that at all. I guess they put that in here so that this spell wouldn't be used to just blast everything and burn everything on enemies. But you can upcast this spell, and it is one of the ones that is decent upcast. So it does an extra d6 damage for every level above third level. And 8d6 damage, which is about 28 average damage, is nothing to sniff at. And upcasting it is actually a very viable choice. Now, we've got all of these different classes that can use this. The first one I want to look at is the wizard, and particularly the evocation wizard, because you get this ability called Sculpt Spell. Beginning at second level, you can create pockets of relative safety. So when you cast an evocation spell that affects other creatures that you can see, you can choose a number of them equal to 1 plus the spell's level. This is a third level spell, so you can choose 4 individuals that will not be in the in the radius of the spell. Though the chosen creatures automatically succeed on their saving throws against the spells, and they take no damage if they normally would take half damage. So they still have to make, so they automatically save. And if they save, they take no damage if they would normally take half damage on a save. So Fireball does half damage on a save, so they take no damage. So I don't know why I guess there are some evocation spells that don't do half damage, so they have to put this sentence in there because of that. But essentially, with Fireball and Sculpt Spell, they automatically succeed and they don't take any damage, so that means 4 individuals will be protected. So this makes this spell very strategic at that point. Now, for the sorcerers, I do want to point out the Draconic Bloodline, because you do get elemental affinity, and it allows you to add your charisma modifier to 1 damage roll of that spell. This is not geared towards Fireball. It's geared generically towards a whole bunch of spells. So essentially, you're adding your charisma modifier to the fireball itself. Now, in addition, we've got all of these different meta magics that we can do. So, for instance, in Power Spell, when you roll damage, you spell a point to reroll a number of damage dice up to your Charisma modifier. So you can take those ones and reroll them. You can heighten the spell, making one creature have a disadvantage on a saving throw. You can quicken this spell to cast it as a bonus action. You cannot twin this spell because it does not target one creature. Distance spell, you double the range of the spell. So there is that. I don't know why you would need to change it from 150 to 300 feet. So probably out of the best options of these is Empower Spell, Heighten Spell, and Quicken Spell. All right, let's talk about the Elemental Adept feat. So when you gain this feat, choose one of the following damage types. Fire is one of them. Spells that you cast ignore resistance to damage of the chosen type. So if we choose Fire, then all of our fire spells ignore fire resistance. In addition, when you roll damage for a spell you cast that deals damage type, you can treat any one on a damage die as a 2. And then you can select this multiple times to get multiple different damage types. So this actually is a good feat to be using with like an Evocation Wizard or the Sorcerer and the Empower meta magic. Now, I do want to look at the Artificer Artillerist because they have access to this spell when they hit 9th level. And they get this thing called Arcane Firearm. So you can use your Arcane Firearm on spellcasting focus. When you cast an Artificer spell through the firearm, roll a d8 and you add that to the spell's damage. So you roll an extra d8. This actually might be good with that, the feat that we just talked about. And, other than that, there isn't really anything. Now, the last thing I do want to talk about with this is the Wand of Fireballs, which is one of the most kind of broken, the best. It's one of the best, but some people would call best broken magic items in the game, and I picked this out because it does cast fireballs. It's got 7 charges. You cast a fireball. Now, you cannot choose the DC, or the DC is not attuned to you. It is attuned to it is tagged to the wand, which is a DC of 15. And so, you can't, I would say, because you're casting it from the wand, that you cannot hit this with meta magics, and you cannot hit this with a feat, because it's the wand casting it, it's not you. For 1 charge, you cast a 3rd level spell. You can increase the spell slot by 1 for each additional charge. So you can upcast this quite a bit. So this has 7 charges. You don't want to expend all 7 charges, but if you did 6 charges, you could cast a 14d6 fireball, which is very hefty. And then the wand regains 1d6 plus 1 extended charges per day. Again, if you use the last charge, you got to roll a d20 or you blow it up. So all in all, this is a great spell. It has a lot of utility. It's a go-to damage dealing spell, and we give it an A. All right, that's what I got for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.